that took way longer than I thought it would. All I did was put up the IGTV, but in order to do that, I wanted to adjust the account that I was putting it on. So yeah, plenty of things to talk about with that. One of the things that I just learned is that recently Instagram has added the ability to edit the highlight cover without putting the image in your stories. So if you don't know what highlights are, when you add a story, you have an ability to save it. When you save it, it shows up underneath your profile, like so. So there are all the highlights. Then if you want to edit the highlight cover so that it looks like a pretty image and looks cohesive on your account, previously you had to upload an image as a story and let it run for 24 hours and then save it in that highlight and then choose it as the cover. But they have changed that. They've changed that recently. And now when you go to the highlight, you can click more, edit highlight, and then it gives you an option for edit cover, and it's got this wonderful little button here where you can just upload an image without it having to run through your stories. So I hope you can see that. I don't know. So that's a cool little note that I also just discovered. But I said I was going to talk about what I've been learning with story impressions and engagement. Let me just pull up my stats so that I actually have them in front of me while I talk. So I have an account that generally gets between 200 and 300 views per story as an average, and I noticed that every now and then it would jump to like 600, 800, things like that, in terms of impressions. And I'm just pulling up my stats around impressions for the past, it doesn't have it for more than 14 days, that's annoying. So if I look at my impressions for the past 14 days, which isn't a long time frame to be pulling this information from, the ones that have, this one's got 600, so this one's got 600 impressions, and if I put it also by engagement, I can see that, where is it, replies? I think it was replies, they've got it set up here, they do. Okay, so this is like Instagram statistics in the app under the insights on a business profile, which, to be honest, like, don't have all the information you need, but it's a good place to start. It's a good place to start. So if I go back to that particular post that got 600 views, I can see, when I find it, oh, there it is, that it had three replies, whereas a lot of the other ones have 0 replies, and a lot of that is to do with I don't ask questions. I don't, typically use polls or anything like that. So I started to play around in the last little while and see what kind of engagement is actually driving Instagram story views in the algorithm, because it seems to me that in order for your story to be seen by your audience who follow you, you need to be posting at the right time. You also need to be posting like good content so that Instagram knows that you are that you're valuable. And I think that the way that it's determining whether or not what you're posting is of value is by the engagement that you're getting. And at the moment, I do not know whether they're counting engagement only by replies or whether they're counting engagement also by interaction, such as answering polls, questions, like things like that, and I'm playing around with that at the moment and experimenting with that. If you have any knowledge, or especially if you've actually done some split testing around this and it's a controlled environment where you actually can be sure what's causing the results, that'd be great. Or maybe if you have multiple accounts that you have tested this on and you feel like, okay, this is really what's going on, I'd love to hear what you think the algorithm is using to determine whether or not your content is of high value. If it is simply just the amount of replies by people sending messages at the bottom of your story, like those claps or the love heart eyes, or those things are actually writing you a message, or whether or not the other type of interaction counts as well. So that's something that I'm exploring at the moment, because it's great building an audience, but as you get a larger audience, you realize that you need to shift your focus onto like engagement, because Instagram's business model is that they need someone to pay for advertising, and they're obviously going to target businesses to be paying for advertising to be in front of their target market, and they drastically reduce your reach as you get bigger in order to incentivize you to give them money, basically. So yeah, the more you can focus on engagement, the more organic reach you can have with your audience, and the less you have to pay. I actually don't do paid promotions on Instagram, and part of that is that I don't think that they're worth it. That's my opinion. I think that from what I've seen doing Facebook ads for a client, the ad spend, the reach and the ad spend was not as good as doing a few like simple organic techniques that would get her way better results, and was actually, like way more cost effective. If it takes 2 or 3 minutes, it's much more cost effective to be doing those things. So I kind of was always a bit like, with the advertising, it just never really seemed to get good results, or be cost effective. So in comparison to other techniques, I mean, overall it still might be cost effective depending on what your product is, but I think there's just better ways. So okay, back on topic. If you have any information about story engagement, I want to know it. Also, the other thing that I learnt while I was experimenting was that including hashtags in my story really helped. And I tried 2 different things. I tried including the hashtag that's a sticker and got good results from that. And I also tried including multiple hashtags that was just written as text, and did not get good results from that. So it's not a very wide testing pool. It's just 2 or 3 posts. So I need to experiment with that more. But yeah, at this point in time, I think it's to do with the sticker. And also learning from that I learned the hard way, is that you obviously need to use hashtags that have a large following, and you can't really see how many followers a hashtag has, but you could probably use the number of posts as a proxy, because what that's telling you is how popular a particular hashtag is, and we can assume that more popular hashtags will have more followers. So yeah, I'm going to start using more sticker hashtags in my posts, and trying to use hashtags with probably about 1 million posts to them. I think that they're kind of big enough, especially like when following hashtags first came out, not very many people were doing it, and using hashtags in your stories had very little impact because no one was following hashtags. But I think that that's really changing now, and gonna start doing that. So leave me your comments below about anything to do with story engagement.